Hi guys, it's Celine again. It's Tuesday again, the 27th of April 2021, and I'm here with cards and hopefully with some Tummo intel as well. It may be a bit of a challenge for me to get this done today because I didn't really get that much sleep, what with the full moon and all that stuff, hormones and whatever. So I'm just going to do my best to see what I can get done at this point, okay? And just please bear with, hopefully. So I've been trying to organize Tummo in a broader scope for myself. So where my Shakti energy is more or less taken care of, I think to the extent that I can at this point, the Tummo has taken care of a lot of my detoxing for me. I can tell that I think in general that I feel pretty good, except that what with still being in lockdown and all the stress in the world and all that, I am not capable of changing my sensitivities or reducing my sensitivities in life with Tummo. Tummo does not change how sensitive I am, or on the contrary, at all. So I did a spread. I have cards for that. The spread comes from Sanskrit Blue. I will link the description in the description to this video, her video that she made, Natalie, where she goes into the exact spread questions. She also goes into the background, sort of an approach for the cards and the spread questions, and it's part of a process. So for her, it is part of her Buddhist practice. It turns out that it fits really neatly with Tummo as well. Certainly the level Tummo I am at the moment, I can sort of see how it all fits together. Everything fits together really well, including the cards, these cards for me, that I will share with you eventually if I manage all this today. So maybe I should go into my Tummo thing, where I'm at the moment with my Tummo a bit more, as a sort of a, part one of this whole tale here. I am sort of, what I'm noticing more and more is a couple of things. First of all, I need to do the actual full complement Shakti, noticeable transportation, changing of the energy, transformation of the energy only a few times a month during a month cycle, for example, for me to have the benefit of that all month long. So I do not need to do this every day or more than once in a day or whatever. I need to do this once a week or even less, because the whole of the energy inside me has changed compared to before I started doing Tummo. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, and you want to know more, there's a Tummo playlist on my channel that you can go to, where I go into my different starts and phases of this whole thing. I have been doing this for over a year now, and I'm noticing significant results and changes. It's not that I can say that I have no more headaches or no more period aches or anything of the sort. It doesn't really work that way, or at least not yet. I have, I suppose it also depends on how you do this exactly. The process is always the same, where you allow yourself to feel your Shakti energy, your Kundalini energy, coming up through your root chakra into your body, and then guide it to, one after the other your dantians. I have no English name for those. They're really important. They're known from Chinese medicine. They're like 3 levels inside your body. One sits between your hip bones. One sits at the sort of lowest level of your rib cage in here, and another sits at the level of your eyes inside your head. Those are the three dantians, and that's where they are actually there to transform the Shakti energy into a next stage, into a different thing. It becomes a different energy. And what I've noticed is that once you get that going, it keeps going. It is a matter of using the meditation to remove blockages. At first, there's quite a lot of blockages. You can have a gazillion blockages all over the place that I wonder how it is that I'm still alive with this many blockages, all over the place. How is it that I got to live to be nearly 55 with this many blockages? I have no idea. Sip of water. Hot water. Drinking hot water has saved my life also, because it's very good for detoxing the lymph system, and that just needs to happen. I use everything I can get to, get my act together. To save myself from having too many problems and too many bad surprises in my life and emotional reactions and being triggered and all that stuff. And what ends up happening is that I get more triggered as time goes by, but in a different way. And I feel that the big shifts for me doing Tummo over a year now has been finding out that I am less powerless than I thought I was. Certainly also deep down inside. It turns out I am stronger than I think I am. So that's pretty awesome. And I knew I had capabilities. I knew I had a certain talent for this, that, and the other. I can, there's certain things that I can do rather well, but that's not what it's about. It's really about something that I would call moral fiber, I suppose. And I never had any of that. I was easy to blow away just as dandelion fluff, because if somebody just comes at me with enough vitriol, I suppose, I am blown away. Just like a lot of humans, because humans depend on each other. We need to cooperate. We need to figure out how to do this planet without, making a very short, terminating the whole operation in very short order. And so because we need each other, I keep running into this need. I keep running into this fact that if somebody treats me badly, it's gonna hurt, and that's not changing. So I am not managing as yet to protect myself from pain, and it sucks. Which is, I was hoping that by this time, what with the level of strength I am finding, that I would also feel less easy to hurt, that I would be more. But then again, I don't know how to imagine that even. I wasn't planning on becoming more indifferent to things. So there's that. Otherwise, apart from the slight increase in body temperature that I've mentioned already a couple of times on my check-ins and my things here, my progress reports, it is more like an overall sense of well-being in my body that has improved quite a bit. I'm more aware of how my body feels, and it's cleaner on the inside. And that's where the drinking hot water also helps me to keep it that way. It's not that it solves all my problems for me. Either the drinking hot water or the Tummo doesn't just wipe it all clean and I just la-di-da, go through life with no cares in the world whatsoever. That's not how it goes. Okay, I've said enough about that, I think. Otherwise, I have wondered quite a bit. The moral fiber, I think, is a heart matter. So when you get, what happens with Tummo is that you transform this Kundalini energy in the first Dantian, this result of that process then goes up into your body to the second Dantian and gets transformed again. So there is a next step. That's what I call secondary Tummo, because for lack of other terminology, nobody really tries this stuff out for themselves. So far, what you hear people say is how dangerous Kundalini is and how difficult it is and how, you can't control it, which is true. Because it is immensely powerful, it makes everything 10 times more intense in your life, if that's possible. And also, if that's not possible, you wouldn't dream of the levels of intensity that things get at sometimes. And you just have to, I don't know. I suppose I trust this method for some reason, which may or may not have something to do with a past life over there in Tibet or experience in this field. I have no clue. I trust deeply in this method, in this approach. It works for me, and I have done so from the very beginning. I've done what I called Shakti energy work for a year before starting the Tummo, getting to know this Shakti energy, becoming more familiar with how it feels, what it feels like in my body. And I noticed quite quickly that I could direct it, because I didn't have, tons and tons of Kundalini energy all at once, immediately. Most of the time, I had a sort of a helping of it that I could handle, and I could bring it to a particular area, for example, along my backbone somewhere, where I felt that it would be beneficial, more energy would actually help to unblock some type of a, cold area, coldness, sensation of lack of energy. So I've always thought and always felt, and I still feel that way, that bringing energy, that you do all this to bring energy to areas in your body and in your person that lack energy, that have gotten shut away for some reason or other. So it's like the ultimate therapy. It's the ultimate personal growth / development / therapy that you can want. It doesn't change who you really are. Not at all. It brings out more and more to me who I am. And a lot of what I do here has to do with, dealing with feelings of helplessness and vulnerability and things like that. And it's occasionally quite a nightmare to be a vulnerable person, but I'm not the only one. So, we just have to deal. We just have to do this. Get it while it's hot. So, having transformed level 2, I found that after a while, my heart chakra got organized better. I found that there was an enormous lot of detoxing happening when this was all going on, because the Shakti energy in the Dantians, each time it becomes, it's so hard to put into words. It's quite specific, and it's so hard. I can only compare it to things where, for example, the pure Shakti energy coming up out of the earth into your root chakra, you could compare to an essential oil, for example, just any old lavender essential oil that is distilled by putting lavender bushes into a pot with boiling water and then collecting the steam and gathering the oil that's floating on top of the steam, like that, There is another process where another type of essential oil comes out that is much more complete. This is called absolute extraction or CO2 extraction. And then you do not have half of the nature of the lavender plant evaporating into the atmosphere and disappearing. it is extracted in such a way that the whole of the fragrance is, kept in the bottle. It looks very different. Lavender oil, by itself, the simple version, the fairly cheap, affordable type of lavender oil, is quite volatile already by itself. And it's, I don't know, a couple of dollars for a bottle, and it looks yellow and transparent, and you can see through it, right? Whereas the Absolute is dark green and much more syrupy. It looks like some kind of a syrup, and it's it's completely opaque. You cannot see through it. It's the same plant. It's a different process. This is the only thing I'm fairly, comfortable with comparing to what happens, to compare to what happens to Shakti energy in the Dantians. It is like this. The Tummo energy is much more easy to use, much more friendly to the body on all sorts of levels. It is easier to deal with because it has been incorporated. It's gone through a filter, if you like. It's another way of saying it. And the next level energy is just that much easier for your organs to live with, for your bloodstream to work with. It's way more comfortable, which is easy, that sounds like it's easy. And it actually is. Level 1, Tummo in the belly, Dantian, I would describe as mostly really comfortable. It's warm, it keeps your body warm, it's very nice. There's nothing bad to be said about that, really. And you do not have this endless bouncing around of the Shakti energy anymore because it's all been concentrated. See, that's where I got that from. The second level is more challenging because it affects how we feel emotionally, and it has to do in here, for me, I noticed a lot, has to do with how I express myself. So how I actually believe in myself. To what extent am I an emotional person? What are my real priorities in life? What are my real strengths also as a person? What do I stand for? Those types of questions can be really tough. They have been quite tough for me, although less tough than I expected. A lot of my fairly, after doing the detoxing, which was painful, and I always get, lymph nodes and stuff and tonsils, then after dealing with that, the rest was okay, in the sense that there were areas in here that hurt for a while. That took a week or two. When the Shakti, the Tummo energy went in there for the first time. It was a very clear situation of getting energy into areas and channels in here where it hadn't ever been before. It's incredible that you can just carry all this, all these little prison cells around inside your ribcage like that. It's really very strange. But that was definitely the case. It was all clogged up. I had no access to a lot of what I consider to be myself nowadays. And I think I have a hard time realizing that this strength that is in here is mine to use, mine to apply to situations, I still believe in my brain, which is where my cards come in. I will get to my cards also in a bit, hopefully. Because there's more. There's the third level, which is up here, and I've been interested from the beginning in getting to this level because of my rather bad eyesight, and I'm still hoping that doing enough Tummo in here will end up improving my eyesight, and detox whatever there is to do, and maybe, rebuild. And I don't care how long it takes. It takes me another 5 years or 10 years. It's fine. As long as I can tell something's happening in there, I will, I'm sure I will be enjoying most of it. Because the Tummo process itself tends to be mostly enjoyable, apart from an occasional twinge where you go, ouch, this is very different from what I'm used to. That, you have to tide yourself over those phases. And in the meantime, I still find this very interesting and I'm completely passionate about it. It's the thing in my life that I'm the most passionate about. And it's a real privilege, it's just a massive privilege to be in this process. So yeah, there's one statement that comes right from here, where I suddenly said what I really think and I really feel instead of what's politically correct or, otherwise that I think, people let me get away with, things like that, which is what my mode of being used to be always. What do you get away with? And just stay out of the blizzard. Stay safe. Be safe, don't do crazy things, don't get noticed, don't, and so on and so forth. So here I sit with no makeup on and no earrings, and my hair hasn't been washed, and so on. And I'm talking about these things. So yeah. Some of you guys actually have been with me for a bit, and I love you no end. It's incredible that I can actually, talk about these things. And I'm still learning. I'm still figuring this out, how it's even possible, because yeah. So far, okay, Tummo 1, 2, and 3. There's a dantian in each case. You can look it up. On Chinese medicine websites, the dantians are there. I don't know exactly what they are in English. That's what I said just now. I don't know how it's all supposed to work. They are there only for the Kundalini energy. I don't think they necessarily have a physical counterpart, like a nervous system of some sort at all. It's an energy thing. So yeah, who knows? Up here, I notice that I get sometimes, occasionally, third eye activation, so I can see energies more clearly. I can distinguish between the natures of crystals more quickly than before. That's one thing that I'm really fond of, that I enjoy working with. It's more immediate. Getting contact with crystals is fairly immediate nowadays, compared to before. I used to have to work quite hard for that. The same applies to plants and animals. I can see vibrations in my third eye, in a way that isn't really visual, but I can sort of perceive different natures to things, which is basically all I've done with that, I suppose, that talent or that capacity of this area, Other than that, I was waiting for the next level to see what would happen. And this is where it gets kind of abstract. So far, it's been really physical, and the development and the detoxing and all that is fairly physical. It's mostly, it becomes at some stage also a change in yourself, in your choices that you make in your life, shifting in your priorities and things in this process, of course. But all of that is fairly practical and sort of easy to figure out. And some of it I've actually, also talked about. It's not, very specific. It's not like I had to become a vegetarian, for example, which is a thing I've considered. For me, it doesn't work that way. It may work that way for other people. That's a possibility. I'm thinking suddenly, yes, it may have, what with lockdown and everything, it may have affected me or helped me to care less about shopping and retail therapy and, going out places. I've complained quite a bit on this channel recently about the lockdown and about not being able to go out for a coffee. It was more about the sense of limitation that everybody has carried around with them over the past 6 months during the whole of the winter. The level of discomfort that has caused to people that I know and people that I, get to see fairly regularly and that my husband gets to see because he's in that line of business. We're not in the restaurant business, but he's in admin and he, has to do tax returns for people who have restaurants and pubs and that kind of places, lunchrooms and so on. And those people have suffered enormously from the whole sort of like an immense stalemate of the lockdown. And it feels, it's changing now. By tomorrow, everything should be opening up slightly for the first phase should be coming where things are going to open up a bit. So we're looking forward to that. And we'll be able to, have a coffee at least outside of the pubs. It should be possible. So we're looking forward to that. Why am I talking about this now? I've noticed that I care less about stuff. That was my thing. So I have ordered a couple of things online, but not like every day, or it's not like I cared about shopping. I would have been more miserable without the Tummo. And it has helped me re-energize myself, from within, from out of the earth, often over the past winter, certainly. There have been moments also where I was feeling frustrated with not being able to go out or not enough, not being able to visit a museum or go to the beach or go to any type of activity out of doors. And especially where there's any people, like a zoo or just going to town to buy a t-shirt, things like that. My temperament is such that if I get frustrated, I get frustrated like 5 times more now with the Tummo energy, because that's kind of on automatic pilot. And I suppose I have to find new ways to finally corral myself in a bit more in that respect, so that I don't carry my frustrations around with me all the time in a way that tends to come naturally for me, because I never used to have any power to channel that energy into something productive or something else. And I don't even want to, because I've been productive. I've been, at things. I've been trying to help and make a difference in as many ways as I can. And so, of course, there's always frustration on the other side of that, isn't there? Other than that, this is more or less the level that I was at. I just have to shift my butt a bit on this chair here because I was nearly falling off my chair. Other than that, there haven't been like massive developments or massive changes. A lot of the changes I still have to make my own choices for. I notice now that I have to, there are things in my life that I have carried around with me, like a certain mindset that I inherited from my mother, a lot of which was sort of semi-conscious for me most of my life, that had its origins in my grandmother's life, somebody I never knew personally, because she passed away before I was born. So only by doing a lot of thinking and making myself more objective and sort of standing apart from from all the stress and all the reactivity and all things, and the memories and the, all that stuff, did I get to see more and more that what I inherited from my mother, or thought I inherited from my mother, actually I inherited from more people than just her. My perspective as a sort of a child coming out of the out of the family that I came out of was of my parents, both my parents as these two huge, massive figures like this. And here's me in the middle, you know, like a little person. And nowadays I tend to see it's still a bit of an effort, and it's still a shift in perspective, and it's still not all of me that really believes in this. But yes, because what the child inside you believes is actually what it has directly experienced. Yeah. So my inner child hasn't experienced this grandmother, and it only had very little experience with the other grandmother, by the way. So I hardly know what a grandmother really is. I've no clue, really. So, and what with all the dissociation going on in my family and between my parents and their parents, I have only seen that what I've experienced is fragmentation and dissociation. And so I suppose I'm using my mind as a first, tool to realize where the patterns come from. And for me, I find it extremely helpful and supportive to realize that, okay, the Second World War was really bad and affected these people in this way and those people in the other way and so on and so forth. But before that, there was already a world, and there was already a lot of stuff going on. And it goes back in time, and the processes that I inherited, actually most of it is just the result of a very long story of, I think I'm going to pause here because I see I'm half an hour in and my battery is nearly gone. There will be a part 2 to this story. I may have to record that tomorrow, where I go into what happens with the Shakti, the Tummo energy at this level, if you take it outside of the body. What happens there? Because that's that's actually where I want to go with all this, and where my cards also, and the, trauma, Nagmo spread actually comes in. But I'm noticing that my battery is really low right now. Thank you for watching so far. I hope this is of interest, who knows, anywhere. I don't think there's that many actual Tummo reports out there. So there you go. See you next time. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.